Many a crime has been solved thanks to CCTV security cameras that capture the culprits in the act, or while they're making their getaway. In some baffling cases, though, criminals or missing people are caught on camera, but they're never found, leaving investigators with very little to work with. And typically when this happens, the case goes cold, sometimes for years, without any further clues being uncovered. Shoplifting is possibly one of the most common crimes in modern society, since thieves who steal from convenience and clothing stores often get away with these crimes, at least for a little while. But most people who engage in shoplifting are repeat offenders who cannot contain the urge to steal again, and eventually they're caught, either after being captured on surveillance footage or when they forget to remove a security tag from one of the stolen items. In most cases, shoplifting crimes aren't too serious, and the perpetrator is either let go after being banned from the store, or if the store wants to press charges, they're ordered to pay a stiff fine. But in March of 2025, the police in Hampshire, England, decided to release CCTV security images of 4 people who were involved in a shoplifting incident that's far more serious than most, and they've asked the public to come forward if they recognize any of the thieves. On the 16th of February, the 4 men entered a co-op shop in the village of Holbury at around 3 p.m. and proceeded to take bottles of alcohol from the shelves. But they never had any intention of paying for any of it, as they ran out of the shop and disappeared. The shop owner would later tell investigators that the perpetrators made off with about 1,150 pounds worth of alcohol, which converts to about $1,500 US. But he added that he had security cameras installed and that they caught the entire incident as it unfolded. The footage was analyzed, but none of the investigators recognized any of the shoplifters, and so they decided to release the images in hopes that someone would come forward with information, leading to their identities being confirmed. They also provided a detailed description of each of the men, all of whom are Caucasian, and the clothes that they were wearing while committing the crime, since someone may recognize these items as belonging to someone they know. The first man is described as wearing a blue beanie and blue jeans with a gray coat and black shoes. The footage shows the second man has short brown hair and a beard. He was wearing a black raincoat, black jeans, and black shoes. He was also wearing glasses during the incident. The third perpetrator was carrying a Sports Direct bag that was likely used to transport their ill-gotten goods, and he also has a beard and a mustache. As for his clothing, he was wearing a black beanie, black jumper with gray stripes, and black jeans with black sneakers. Lastly, the fourth man had stubble on his face and covered his head with a black hooded top. He was also wearing a high-visibility jacket, blue jeans, and white sneakers. While investigators didn't directly state that these 4 men were wanted for the theft, instead, they said that they might be able to help the investigators, and it's since become clear that they are the people responsible for the crime. At present, no one has come forward with any additional helpful information, and only time will tell if these 4 thieves will be made to pay for their actions. The disappearance of 20-year-old Sudiksha Konanki, a student at the University of Pittsburgh, is leaving her family and investigators frustrated, since plenty of clues have been found during the investigation, but she still has not been located. At the time, Sudiksha was on a spring break trip in Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic with a group of friends, one of whom was the last to see her before she mysteriously vanished. The group was vacationing at an upscale resort on the 6th of March, and they decided to go out to a bar for some drinks. CCTV footage that's been released showed Sudiksha at the bar with the rest of her friends, and worryingly, at one point, she's seen walking towards a pillar and seems to get sick, likely from too much alcohol. She was then seen later that night as the group left the bar after a power outage, and CCTV cameras showed her walking hand in hand with Joshua Reba, who's a student at St. Cloud State University in Minnesota, while they were heading to the beach at around 4:15 a.m. The rest of the group spent some time on the beach with Sudiksha and Reba, but then left at about 5:50 p.m., and they've not seen her since. She was reported missing, and Reba was questioned, and this was when the case took a strange turn. Reba has given several contradictory accounts of what happened on the beach that morning. At one stage, he claimed that Sudiksha entered the water, but finding it too rough, she was soon in trouble, and according to him, he managed to rescue her. At one point, he stated that they went their separate ways, but during a subsequent interview, he claimed to have just made it out of the water before he passed out, and when he woke up, Sudiksha was nowhere to be seen. Later that morning, at around 8:55, Reba was captured by security cameras at the resort as he returned to his room, but he was no longer wearing his shoes or the shirt that he had on while at the bar. During a search that then took place, Sudiksha's clothes were found on a lounger on the beach, but no further clues were present. Reba has since cooperated with the investigators, but since he was the last person to see Sudiksha alive, he is considered a person of interest, and his passport has been seized until the case can be further investigated. This has drawn the ire of his parents, who feel that he's being unjustly detained and that he's being questioned without an official translator or lawyer present. For the time being, he's being detained in his hotel room, but has been allowed to leave on a few occasions to speak to the police. Initially, the case was handled as an accidental drowning, but local police have now stated that they have not ruled out the possibility that foul play was involved, and hence could not allow Reba to leave the country just yet. They've added that he's refused to answer some of their questions, since he's been advised not to do so. But many people feel that this just makes him come across as guilty, even if he's done nothing wrong. Several searches have been conducted by more than 300 people since Sudiksha disappeared, but the local authorities have vowed to keep looking for her and to continue questioning everyone involved until she's located. Usually, when someone decides to shoplift, they steal relatively inexpensive items, such as clothes, food, toiletries, and other items that they might need, but don't have the money to pay for. In more extreme cases, shoplifters will take more valuable items such as jewelry, cell phones, or tools, which means that they're treading a fine line between shoplifting and burglary, which could see them with some serious jail time. When these crimes do occur, the thief is usually able to explain why they stole the items they did. They may have fallen on hard times and didn't have anything to eat, decided to take it on a whim, or might have taken it for the sheer thrill of committing a crime. But one case that took place in England in March of 2025 has left store owners and investigators baffled, since the items that were stolen don't seem to fit any of these criteria, making the investigation even more intriguing. The first of these incidents took place in Great Yarmouth, specifically at a store in an area called Market Gates. On the 2nd of March, a man walked into a store on his own at around 2:25 a.m. and proceeded to help himself to around $520 worth of cosmetics. But it seems that despite being alone when he committed the crime, he was not acting alone, as his fellow thieves were in the process of stealing from other similar stores, but in different areas. That same day, 2 men were caught on CCTV footage as they walked through Riverside Retail Park in Norwich at 11:30 a.m., and by the time they left, they'd stolen almost $2,000 worth of makeup and other cosmetics for reasons as yet unknown. But quite unbelievably, this was not the end of this strange crime spree. Later that same day, at around 1:20 p.m., another man in South Norfolk walked into a store and also helped himself to cosmetics. But he would return twice more to steal even more of the same products, and when all was said and done, he'd gotten away with about $3,000 worth of perfumes and cosmetics. 2 of the men were caught on security footage, and investigators have released still images in hopes that someone will recognize them and come forward so that they can be tracked down and taken into custody. One of the men has dark hair, a beard, and mustache, and was seen carrying a bag over his shoulder. He was dressed in a dark coat and a white shirt and could be seen using his phone while in the midst of the theft. The second man was wearing a black cap, a dark coat with light-colored lapels, and a black shirt. Sources don't state whether these 2 men were responsible for all 3 robberies, but since only footage showing them was released, it's assumed that they traveled to these stores together to carry out their heists. As for the reason why they stole cosmetics and perfumes, it's believed that they'll resell these products after applying a hefty markup, and unwitting customers will likely pay as much as double for a product that they could find much cheaper elsewhere.
Anyone who recognizes either of these men is asked to dial 101 or contact Crime Stoppers at 0800-555-111. It must be endlessly frustrating for investigators when CCTV footage is found of someone who's gone missing, but it then does nothing to further the case, as it doesn't show the direction that they last traveled in. One such case involves a 54-year-old woman named Julie Buckley, who's been missing since the 28th of January, 2025, and who is presumed to have been murdered, though that part of the investigation is still ongoing, since no sign of Julie has been found to date. The last time that she was seen, Julie was captured by CCTV cameras while doing some shopping at a store in March in Cambridgeshire, England, on the day that she disappeared. This is believed to be the only footage found of Julie before she vanished. After she was reported as missing, a fisherman came forward to report that he'd found something macabre in a nearby river, and when it was analyzed, it was found to be human hair belonging to Julie. In the days that followed, police divers scoured the river, while other searchers combed the riverbank, but no further sign of her was found. It's also been revealed that the police received a call on the 30th of January from someone who stated that something suspicious was going on at Bedlam Bridge, close to where the hair was found. They also believed that they saw someone throwing something into the water below. They saw a car parked on the bridge at about 9:30 p.m. and found it strange since it was parked on the wrong side of the road. Members of the public have since been asked to check their dash cam and CCTV footage in case they inadvertently captured something important. Julie was reported missing after friends told the police that they'd not seen her for almost 2 weeks. When her house was searched, nothing of interest was found, but the police became concerned that she may have been a victim of foul play. While very few details have been released, it's known that 47-year-old Carl Hutchings, who hails from Christchurch, was charged with ending Julie's life, but it's believed that if he is guilty, he wasn't acting alone. 3 more people were taken into custody, as it's believed that they might not be directly involved in the crime, but may have helped Hutchings after the fact, but their names have not been released at this point. In an effort to drum up more clues, dog walkers in the area have been asked to keep their eyes open for any newly disturbed soil in the area. Fishermen and farm owners have been asked to do the same and to report any such findings as soon as possible. It should be noted that when Julie was captured by security cameras at the store, she didn't seem to be in any kind of distress, and since she was alone, didn't seem to be there against her will. In the meantime, tests are being conducted on the hair that was found in the river to ascertain whether it belonged to Julie or not. If this is the case, investigators will be even more certain that her life was ended, and Hutchings will be charged accordingly. If you saw anything that night, or have any additional information on Julie's case, you're asked to dial 101, quoting Operation Dragonfish. Every lead will be followed up on, no matter how small it may seem. The police in Scarborough, England, have asked for the public's assistance in locating Leslie Davis, an 85-year-old man who's not been seen since the 19th of December, 2024, and they're becoming increasingly concerned for his well-being. It's known that Leslie left his house, which is situated on Dean Road, on the morning in question, but never returned and has not been seen or heard from since. When his family was unable to make contact with him, they started to worry that something may have happened to him, and they contacted the police. A missing person case was opened, and searches were immediately conducted in the area around his house, but they were unable to find any sign of him. When CCTV cameras in the area were checked, Leslie was seen walking down the road just a short distance from his house, but it's unknown where he was heading or what his plans were for the rest of the day. Unfortunately, it's believed that Leslie didn't have his cell phone with him, and hence investigators are unable to track him this way, and they've resorted to asking the public for help in locating him. They've asked everyone who lives in the area to check their doorbell cameras, CCTV security systems, and dashcam footage of that day, especially of the early morning hours, in case they recorded footage of the missing man. If such footage is found, it may be possible to establish Leslie's last movements, or to figure out in which direction he was heading before he disappeared.
In the meantime, searches are still being conducted, but since he's been missing for more than 3 months, these have systematically been scaled back, as several areas have already been thoroughly combed through. Leslie's family has since thanked volunteers who have aided in the search efforts for their support, but have added that not knowing where Leslie is or what happened to him has taken its toll on them. Posters and missing person flyers have been put up all over town in an effort to jog people's memories, but to date, no one has come forward with any additional information, and with every passing day, concerns for Leslie's well-being are only increasing. If you have found any footage of Leslie or have any information to add to this case, you're asked to contact the North Yorkshire Police by dialing 101 and quoting case reference number NYP 211-220-24-0152. South Africa is known for its stunning landscapes, wild animals, and diverse cultures. But unfortunately, it's also become one of the biggest crime capitals of the world, as violent crimes in particular have skyrocketed in the last 3 decades or so. These include assault, murder, hijackings, and even violent robberies, as is evidenced by a case that took place in February of 2025 in one of the most beautiful parts of the country, Table Bay, which is close to Cape Town. The incident took place at the V&A waterfront, which is made up of a 123-acre area where artists, entrepreneurs, and designers have the opportunity to sell and showcase their creations to the public. On the 22nd of February, 3 women and a man walked into a jewelry store in Alfred Mall, and they approached the counter. They then proceeded to speak to the shop assistant about some pieces on display. One of the women took a keen interest in one particular piece, a necklace, and she asked if she could take a closer look at it. She then tried it on, and after speaking to the shop assistant a little while longer, the group simply walked out without returning the item or paying for it. They'd seemingly gotten away with their crime, but they were not done. They returned to the shop again a few minutes later while the assistant was still putting some of the other pieces back in their cases, and they asked to take a look at a pendant. She tried the pendant on too, but then returned it when she was done, and all 4 of the thieves then left. A short while later, the assistant suddenly realized what had happened, and when he looked back at the stock in the display cases, he realized that a pendant and 2 rings were no longer there. He immediately raised the alarm, and security guards responded, but by that time the group had fled and could not be located. CCTV images of the culprits have been made available to the public, and hopefully someone will come forward to inform investigators of their identities, as well as their whereabouts. They've also released images of the jewelry that was stolen, in case someone sees it up for sale or being worn by one of the suspects. The first ring that was stolen contains a large blue stone. The second is smaller, but looking at the photo seems to contain several diamonds. As for the necklace, it also contains a blue stone, larger than the one set in the ring. It's surrounded by precious stones and hangs from what looks like a fine gold chain. Together, the 3 pieces are valued at around $74,000. The first woman who was caught on camera was wearing a gray head covering, a white top, and white sunglasses on top of her head. She could also be seen using her phone while the crime was being committed. The other 2 men were both dressed in black, full-length robes, and while their heads were mostly covered, it was clear that they both had long black hair. The man who was seen with them has short, curly brown hair, is of a slim build, and was wearing a dark-colored t-shirt. He also appeared to be carrying a bag over one of his shoulders. Anyone who recognizes any of these people, or who has additional information to add, is asked to contact Detective Warrant Officer Abrams at 082-522-2572. Lee Horton, a 36-year-old man from Worcestershire, England, has been missing since the 12th of March, 2025, and his family has made several appeals to the public to keep an eye out for him, since they're concerned that something untoward may have happened to him. The last time that his family heard from Lee was on the 11th of February, the day before he disappeared. When they were unable to contact him the next afternoon, they started to worry and they contacted the police to report that he'd gone missing. At the time, he was in the Bristol area, which his family says is in no way out of character for him, since he enjoys traveling the country to visit areas that he's never seen before and meeting new people. But the fact that he's been out of touch strikes them as suspicious. His family is certain that he did not vanish of his own accord, since he phoned them when they last spoke to inform them of where he was, and to state that he'd be back home later that day, since he was planning to catch a train in a short while. But he never made it back, and his whereabouts remain unknown. During the resulting investigation, it was discovered that he tried to book accommodation in Bristol on the 11th of February, but was unable to do so as he didn't have enough money. He then traveled to a bank in Clifton, but it's not been revealed whether he was able to withdraw enough money to pay for a room. Since then, searches have been conducted in Bristol and Clifton, but he was nowhere to be seen. A few days later, the police released CCTV images of Lee, showing him as he was walking along Upper Maudlin Street at around 10:45 a.m. on the 11th of March. He was then seen again in separate footage as he walked down Queens Road at 11 a.m. that same day. In the images, he's seen with a stern expression on his face and wearing a dark gray zip-up jacket with a white shirt, blue jeans, and dark-colored shoes. At the time, he had a neatly trimmed beard and mustache with short brown hair. In the footage, he seemed to be acting normal, making his disappearance all the more baffling. He's described as standing 5 foot 11 inches tall and can be identified by a unique birthmark on his right arm. In the footage, he's also seen carrying a backpack. Members of the public have been asked to review their CCTV footage for any sightings of Lee and to report any new information to the police by dialing 999 and quoting case reference number 522-507-3912. Having a loved one go missing in a foreign country must be a harrowing experience, since the resulting investigation is completely out of their loved one's hands, and in many of these cases, all they can do is wait to hear if they've been found. This is the exact scenario that the family of a British journalist is going through after she mysteriously vanished while in Brazil. 32-year-old Charlotte Pete was last seen on the 8th of February, 2025, while in Sao Paulo. Strangely, Charlotte boarded a plane to Brazil in November of 2024 without telling any of her family members what her plans were. On the 15th of that March, she met up with one of her friends in Rio de Janeiro. She stayed at a hostel in Copacabana until the 17th of February, after which she moved to a different hostel in Botafogo. Details on how this is known have not been released, but the Brazilian police have stated that she was last known to be in a slum area called Morro de Babilônia, which has raised several concerns. Investigators have also revealed that they've acquired information about one of her cell phones, and that they've been attempting to track her this way, but with no success at this point. It's been revealed, though, that she's been receiving text messages and calls on her British number, and that the Brazilian phone is unable to receive calls. 10 days after Charlotte was reported missing, she was seen in Rio de Janeiro, and hence the investigation is now focused on that city. On the 15th of February, CCTV footage was found of Charlotte while she was in a bar, and in the footage, she seems to be taking selfies and appears to be in good spirits. In different CCTV footage, she was seen in the reception area of the hostel where she was staying. She could be seen walking over to the counter and handing the receptionist a bundle of what's believed to be dirty laundry. She then waits for a receipt to be written out before going on her way. At the time, she was wearing a white short-sleeved top with black shorts. She also had 2 bags with her, both black, but one much larger than the other. In her other hand, she was seen carrying a plastic bag and what appeared to be several different food items. 2 more CCTV images have since been released, showing Charlotte taking a few selfies while riding on a bus in Rio de Janeiro and sitting at a bar located close to Copacabana Beach. It's believed that she was on the bus the day that she vanished. Another puzzling detail in this case is the fact that she bought a ticket to travel from Sao Paulo to Rio, but she never used it, leading the local authorities to believe that she's disappeared voluntarily and has decided not to get in touch with her family. In the weeks that followed, investigators spoke to staff at several hospitals and morgues in case Charlotte was there, but this was not the case. It's believed that she was planning to travel home shortly before she disappeared, since she posted to Facebook asking if anyone knew of a double room that she could rent in London. Her family is concerned for her health, since she's had issues with her party lifestyle in Brazil in the past, which saw her return to London for a short while before leaving again in 2024. For the time being, Charlotte remains missing, and anyone who sees her is asked to contact the Brazilian authorities immediately. In 2018, Ethan Ned Bruce was an 18-year-old man with his whole life ahead of him. He was living in an apartment in Charlton in Greenwich, London, and he had aspirations of becoming a property developer. But on the 22nd of November of that year, his family's lives were changed forever as he became a victim of murder, and by all accounts, it was a crime that was completely unnecessary, since it resulted from a short altercation. At around 9:20 p.m. that night, Ethan had bought some food at a chicken restaurant on Woolwich Road in the city, and had just exited the building when he was approached by a group of men and an argument broke out, although it isn't known what it was about. In the CCTV footage of the incident, the men could be seen arriving at the restaurant on motorbikes, and after a brief discussion, Ethan started running down the street, obviously fearing that the group was about to attack him. But two of the men could be seen following him on one of the motorbikes and chasing him onto Armitage Road, where they confronted him once again and unfortunately ended his life with a firearm. Investigators have stated that they are certain someone in the area saw what happened that night, but since it's a very close-knit community, they may be keeping quiet to protect the culprits, or because they're afraid that they'll be retaliated against if they come forward with new information. Ethan's mother, Cherry, has since appealed to the public, asking for anyone who saw the incident to come forward so that justice could be done for crimes against her son. But to date, no one has provided any new leads. A CCTV image has been released of a man who investigators believe witnessed the entire attack, and they've asked him to come forward, or for anyone who recognizes him to contact them. It should be noted that he's in no way suspected of being involved in the crime, but could have valuable information that might help track Ethan's attackers down. They've also asked the public to be on the lookout for a silver Ford Kuga that may have been involved in the attack, and have also released details about the bike that was used, stating that it was a high-powered vehicle. When no one came forward to report anything new in the case, it was announced that a $20,000 reward was being offered to anyone who contacted the police with information leading to Ethan's attackers being identified and taken into custody. Adding further intrigue to this case is the suggestion by investigators that Ethan's attackers seemed to know that he was in the restaurant before he exited, and hence they believed that this was a planned and targeted attack, rather than a chance encounter that then turned violent. If you or anyone you know has any information that could help close Ethan's case, you're asked to contact the police at 020-8721-4622. In 1991, 42-year-old Veronica Anderson, known to her friends and family as Vera, was found deceased in the early hours of the morning on the 25th of August in Cheshire, England, and her case remains unsolved 33 years later. At the time, she was running her own sandwich business and could often be seen delivering food to businesses and offices in the area. She's described by those who were close to her as a bubbly person who was well liked by the surrounding community, making her murder all the more baffling. She's also often seen at the Roll-In Trick Shop and Motel, where she was one of very few female regulars. She seemed content with her life at the time, as she and her 7-year-old son seemed very happy by all accounts. But on the evening of the 24th of August that year, she received a phone call from an unknown person, and while it isn't known what was said, it must have been very serious, since Vera took her son to a neighbor and asked them to watch him for the next 10 minutes, since she had to step out and meet with someone. But she had not returned by the next morning, and just a few hours later, she was found deceased in her car, a blue Ford Cortina. She was found slumped over the steering wheel, and an autopsy showed that she'd been strangled and attacked with a sharpened blade. Investigators have since speculated that the crime was an organized hit, since none of her personal belongings were stolen after her life was ended, and there were no signs that any other type of assault had taken place. This has left investigators at a loss, as they've been unable to find any motive for the crime. Vera wasn't involved in any illegal activities, wasn't addicted to illegal substances, and was never known to associate with anyone involved in criminal activity. Her daughter stated that Vera used to stay at home most of the time, but started going out when she reached her 40s. But even then, she didn't usually drink much and would only go to attend social events to spend time with her friends and meet new people. Her boyfriend, a trucker who she'd been dating for about 3 years, stayed over at her house the night before the attack, but he's been cleared of all suspicion. But her daughter, Lorraine, stated that when she visited her mother that day, she seemed quieter than usual. When she left the house that night, she left the lights in her apartment and the TV on, suggesting that she truly believed she'd only be out for a few minutes. Her car was seen at 11, 1:30 p.m., and 3 a.m. in the spot where she was found, suggesting that her life was ended less than an hour after she stepped out. The weapon that was used was never recovered, but a glove was found nearby, and when it was analyzed, it was found to contain biological material belonging to Vera. But the culprit's DNA wasn't present in any database, and hence they've not been identified. An empty packet of Embassy Regal cigarettes was found in front of her car, and it also contained some of her DNA, despite not being her brand of choice. It's believed that a brown hatchback vehicle was involved, but it's never been found, and to date, Vera's case remains a mystery that may never be solved. Usually, CCTV surveillance systems are installed to keep an eye on a house or a business in case of a robbery. But one pub in England managed to get CCTV evidence of something seemingly otherworldly, while the pub's staff seemed none the wiser. In October of 2019, staff at the Lamb and Lion pub, situated on High Petergate Street in York, England, was preparing to open for business on a Sunday morning, and one server named Molly was wiping down tables before the start of the day. Assistant manager David Lee Smith checked the building's CCTV cameras to see where Molly was when he spotted something that shocked and surprised him. In the footage, which shows the dining area of the pub, Molly can be seen diligently going about her task when something strange can be seen happening in a doorway to Molly's right. A strange white misty figure can be seen emerging from the doorway, hovering in the area for a few moments before retreating back into the adjacent room. But Molly seemed none the wiser, and it wasn't until Lee showed the footage to her that she realized that anything had happened. Lee stated that when he saw the footage, it caused him to jump back and wonder what on earth it was that he saw. He also stated that he's never believed in things like ghosts, but admits that the security footage is pretty convincing. He believes it's the spirit of a young girl in a dress, and added that a few of their other colleagues have reported seeing similar strange ghost-like figures in the building before. The building in which the Lamb and Lion is situated was formerly made up of 2 houses. The first was built in 1840, while the second dates back to 1782, formerly known as the Bootham Bar Hotel. And many people believe that the strange sightings are a result of former tenants who still dwell throughout the building. Geelong, situated in Victoria, Australia, is known for being one of the country's largest urban centres, boasting Australia's second oldest Australian football team. But one night in September of 2021, scary security footage was recorded from a house in Bell Park, and residents are speculating what may have caused it. The owner of the house where the footage was taken stated that a blackout occurred in his area on the 28th of September, and at first he thought it had been caused by a car hitting an electricity pole. But when he checked his security footage, he realized that the cameras had captured something he found impossible to explain. The footage shows a suburban neighborhood, with everything seemingly calm and quiet, with cars parked in driveways and on the street. Above the roof of a house across the street from the camera, an object can be seen traveling through the sky at a slow pace some distance away. But shortly after it comes into frame, it seems to change from a light color to dark, and in the next instant, a massive flash of light illuminates the night sky, causing the blackout to occur and leaving the neighborhood in darkness. Many people suggested that the object seen in the sky was a meteor, and that the flash of light was the result of the meteor crashing to the ground. But the director of the Comet and Meteor section of the Astronomical Society of Victoria stated that the object was moving far too slowly for it to have been a meteor.
They also hadn't received any reports of any meteor sightings that night, and he believes that it was an unidentified flying object, but doubts that it was extraterrestrial in nature. Others have stated that they believe the flash to have been caused by a blown transformer that caused the blackout, but many other witnesses maintain that it was caused by something otherworldly, though exactly what it was remains an unexplained mystery that was caught on camera. When Joey and Amy Radke, a couple from Minnesota, moved into a new house, they installed security cameras so that they could keep an eye on their pets. But they didn't expect to capture creepy security footage that has now convinced them that their home is haunted. Upon moving into the building 2 years earlier, the couple's landlord warned them that it was haunted by demonic entities, but they shrugged it off as mere superstition and proceeded to make the place their home. But when Joey checked security footage of their lounge, he was shocked to discover something lurking in the background. The camera is pointed across the lounge at a hallway where a strange white figure can be seen moving into view just outside of the couple's bedroom door. Any theories that it may be a glitch or problem with the security camera were quickly dismissed when it became apparent that the couple's cat spotted the figure, running behind a laundry basket before hiding under the coffee table, which is situated in the lounge. The cat sits transfixed, staring at the hallway where the figure appeared, and it's obvious that it isn't looking at someone that it recognizes. When Joey first saw the footage, he didn't know what to make of it, so he and Amy took the footage to Amy's brother's house, where they watched it on his TV. He says that the figure resembles a woman with bouffant hair, a fact that has left Amy terrified as they learned that a woman passed away in their bedroom many years ago. Their neighbors told the couple that the woman was removed by paramedics from the house while still wearing her nightgown, and they believe that the figure in the security footage is also wearing a gown. He also stated that he believes the footage to be the holy grail of ghost videos, and that it definitively proves the existence of the afterlife. He says that after discovering that they were not alone in the house, he constantly has the feeling that he's being watched. He added that when he's watching TV with the hallway to his right, he'll often catch something moving out of the corner of his eye, but when he takes a closer look, there's never anything there. Whether it's proof of the paranormal is not certain, but the footage certainly is creepy, and for now, it remains an unsolved mystery. Home security footage from a house in England has left the owner of the house where it was filmed confused and terrified after it captured something that seemingly shouldn't be there. In May of 2022, Shane Matthews was reviewing the security footage from his house when he made a startling discovery. The footage shows the street in front of his house with a few cars parked in the street across the road. A few seconds into the strange video, a dark figure resembling someone's shadow can be seen moving across the street towards his son's blue van that is parked directly in front of it. Some people have described the figure as looking like the Grim Reaper, while others think that it resembles the spirit of a person walking across the road. The figure moves towards the van in a smooth, controlled manner, before moving over the van and vanishing into thin air as if it were never really there. Shane stated that he has 2 cameras in the front of his house, one of which picked up the strange activity, while the other shows no movement at all, adding to the strange mystery. Some people have speculated that what Steve caught on camera is actually an out-of-focus animal, but the fact that it moves over his son's van and then disappears without a trace seems to contradict this theory. Others have speculated that it really does show the Grim Reaper, or that Steve's camera managed to capture a spirit that's haunting the area. Others aren't so sure, claiming that it could be an insect moving across the camera's lens, or the shadow of something moving across the streetlight's bulb. During a media interview, Steve stated that he has always been skeptical about ghost stories, but after seeing the strange CCTV footage for himself, he's had a change of heart and now firmly believes that the figure is proof that the paranormal world does exist. Singapore isn't known as a supernatural hub, and so when security footage of an unexplained event was shared on YouTube, it quickly went viral, with many users giving their theories on what the cameras managed to capture. The footage is dated from 2015 and comes from a bar and restaurant called Kato, situated in an area known as Chinatown in Singapore.
As the video starts, the camera shows a long bar with many customers milling about, ordering drinks that they take back to their tables. Waiting staff and bar servers can be seen behind the counter, diligently at work as they serve drinks and food to customers. Soon, the footage cuts to a time later in the day when only 2 men are left sitting at the bar, while the barman is mopping the floor behind the bar. The 2 men can be seen chatting and everything seems normal until one of the unoccupied bar stools starts to move of its own accord. Neither of the men seem to notice at first, and as the footage cuts to a second angle above the bar, the stool can clearly be seen rocking back and forth behind one of the men's backs. It continues to rock back and forth for a few seconds, leaning further back each time before it eventually rocks too far and comes crashing to the ground. As it hits the floor, both men are startled by the noise, and they quickly stand up to see what happened. The barman instantly stops mopping and peers over the counter at the stool in confusion, while the other 2 men walk over to the chair puzzled. One of the men picks it up and studies it, looking for a reason for the unexpected crash. He places it back in its original position and all 3 men can be seen discussing the incident, clearly perturbed by what just happened. Unbeknownst to any of them, something even stranger happens in the background, and it wasn't until the security footage was checked that they realized just how creepy the footage actually is. As the barman leans over the counter to take a closer look at the chair, a strange figure can be seen moving over the right shoulder of one of the other men. It darts out from behind the bar and passes behind the men into an adjacent room, completely unnoticed by anyone present at the time. The 2 men can be seen staring at the chair for a few moments longer before they seem to make up their minds to leave. Commenters on the video have stated that it may be a household deity that is thought to bring good fortune to the building where it resides. Others believe that it was an orchestrated hoax and that the chair was rigged with a piece of string. They claim that the footage of the mysterious figure was added later. Either way, the creepy security footage remains a scary mystery. An unsolved mystery is unfolding at a fitness center in Orchard Park, New York, and the owner, Kevin Cunningham, is at a loss as to what his security cameras have captured. Casey's Fitness is a boxing gym situated in New York, and it isn't the type of building that one would normally associate with unexplained mysteries. But one night in 2022, the building's CCTV security cameras caught something that many people believe shows proof of the supernatural. In May, Kevin received a mysterious message from his security system that there was activity going on in the gym at 1:10 a.m., while the building was supposed to be empty. He immediately checked the security footage, and what he found was a massive surprise. He expected to see an intruder, but instead, he was met with an unsolved video of strange orbs streaking across the camera. Initially, a cluster of orbs can be seen moving across the camera in formation, leaving a strange, ghostly trail behind them. More unexplained events follow as a cluster of orbs moves from the left of the screen to the top right before disappearing out of sight. Many more clusters of orbs have been captured by the cameras, but on one occasion, single orbs have also been spotted floating through the building. Kevin asks a digital expert for his opinion, as he suspected the strange footage may be caused by dust particles, but the expert stated that it was something that cannot be explained. A paranormal expert was also asked to look at the footage, and he stated that the orbs may be a phenomenon that's usually seen in very haunted locations, and that the orbs could indicate the presence of spirits. Despite the opinions of baffled experts, skeptics still believe the streaks of light are caused by dust particles falling past the camera. To believers, this unsolved mystery captured the playful spirits of people who passed away and inexplicably returned to haunt the building. On the 31st of December 2008, Jesse Greathouse visited the Colonial Park Cemetery in Savannah, Georgia, during a family vacation, and he decided to film his visit at the cemetery. Known to be the site of many bizarre and unsolved mysteries, the cemetery, which is over 270 years old and said to be haunted, contains over 9,000 graves. Sightings of events that cannot be explained are commonplace here. Jesse's video captured one such event that has since baffled experts.
In the footage, the camera pans over the gravestones in the cemetery until Jesse spotted something strange in the distance. He zoomed in and instantly knew he was filming the ghost of what seemed to be a young boy. The spirit is seemingly walking behind another shadowy figure that many people believe is the spirit of a woman. But the unexplained video gets even stranger when the boy's spirit jumps onto the trunk of a tree. The ghostly figure seems to hang onto the tree for a few seconds before it drops back to the ground and disappears from sight. Other visitors to the cemetery are caught on video walking directly past the area where the boy is seen, but they are oblivious to the strange mystery unfolding next to them. As the boy disappears from sight, Jesse can be heard saying, hold on," clearly perturbed by the bizarre sight that he had just filmed. He later stated that he was stunned by what he had seen, and when he was asked whether the footage was fake, he stated that he doesn't know of anyone who could make the footage look as realistic as it does. Experts who have analyzed the video have agreed that the footage does not seem to be faked, but they cannot explain if it shows an actual spirit. Some people believe that the video is in fact not an unsolved mystery, and that it merely shows a child playing in the cemetery. But many more trust that the bizarre footage is real, and that Jesse captured a strange but true haunting on tape. But whether it's a true haunting or not, the unexplained video remains an unsolved mystery. A bizarre video that was captured on dashcam by a driver in Hong Kong, China, has left many people scratching their heads, and so far the unexplained video cannot be solved. The strange footage, which was taken at 8:36 p.m. on the 9th of February 2017, begins with the owner of the video driving behind a red taxi. At first, nothing seems out of place as the two vehicles navigate their way around a bend in the road, with the driver of the vehicle singing along to a song on the car's radio. But almost immediately after the two vehicles enter a straight section of road, something happens that cannot be explained. From the left side of the road, a strange white mist appears out of nowhere at great speed and heads directly towards the unsuspecting taxi driver. The driver brakes and swerves to the right, which fortunately has no oncoming traffic. As soon as the strange mist touches the car, it immediately retracts and disappears off the left of the screen at an even greater speed. The driver of the car behind the taxi can be heard gasping in surprise, and he immediately stops his car. The taxi veers off the road where it comes to a rest a short distance from a tree, and thankfully the driver seems to escape the bizarre event unscathed. Though some commenters on the video have stated that they believe the footage is either faked or showing a light being shown into the taxi, causing the driver to be temporarily blinded and swerve off the road, many others have stated that they think the unexplained video shows an attack by a demon or a ghostly spirit. Whatever the case may be, the unexplained footage has captured the imagination of the public, and since there's very little further information on this bizarre incident, it's likely to forever remain an unexplained mystery that cannot be solved. An unsolved video that was uploaded to Facebook in 2018 has left many people baffled as the footage shows something that cannot be explained. The video was captured during a Facebook live stream by a woman called Solo Dolo, who lives in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and she has no idea that she had captured something bizarre on camera until she watched the footage back later. In the video, she can be heard saying that the area is without power due to a storm that was passing through. The footage starts out with the view of the woman's neighborhood. There are thick clouds hanging overhead, and she can be heard saying, quote, "Hey, we've got a storm over here. We've got no power. Everything blowing over here. Boxes, trees." She then pans her camera back towards the sky and says, "But I know who's got our power," while zooming in on a bright patch of clouds, presumably referring to God. She is seemingly none the wiser about what is happening in the exact area that she's referring to, but she would later realize that an unexplained event had taken place while she was filming. In the bright area of the clouds, what seems to be a human figure can be seen walking across the sky, as if it's supported by the clouds beneath its feet. The figure moves from the left of the bright patch and seems to be taking large steps as it crosses to the right of the screen. Many people who have viewed the unexplained video noticed that there was not just one, but two of the figures moving through the clouds. The first one passing through the same area of bright cloud just before the second, clearer one becomes visible. Inexplicably, the figure's feet seem to touch down on the clouds in the exact same way that a human's would if they were walking on a hard surface. But no one has been able to give a rational explanation for the strange mystery. Some believe this video has captured proof of God's existence, with others going as far as to say that the strange footage shows God himself. Skeptics aren't convinced that it shows anything otherworldly at all, though. Many commenters have stated that the woman merely captured a cloud being blown across the sky by storm winds in a natural event. It would seem that the video has not been analyzed by experts, and until this is done, it'll remain a strange but true unsolved mystery. Residents of the Outer Banks in North Carolina have been left baffled by a video in September of 2019, with many people stating that they believe the footage shows a fleet of extraterrestrial crafts. The unknown object was captured by a man named William Guy from Indiana, who was in the same area as part of a work crew that was repairing damage to Ocracoke Island after it was struck by Hurricane Dorian earlier that year. The crew was traveling by ferry from Ocracoke Island to the mainland after they'd completed work for the day on the 18th of September 2019, when they spotted strange lights in the sky. The 30-second clip starts out with William panning across the horizon as the sun is setting, bathing the area in a yellow hue. At this moment, he focuses on 14 lights that are hovering in the sky in a close proximity to each other. He says, "What is that? Can anybody tell me what that is?" He adds that they're currently in the middle of the ocean with nothing around and no land in sight, making this an unsolved mystery. The video, which lasts for about 90 seconds, has been viewed many times since it was uploaded to YouTube, and many commenters have stated that they believe the bizarre footage shows a fleet of extraterrestrial craft that are observing our planet. But Derek Chenault, a former Marine that was stationed at the 2nd Marine Air Wing in Cherry Port, states that the footage isn't as unusual as some people believe it to be. He commented that they often dropped flares from their planes during nighttime as part of military exercises, and that this is a regular occurrence. Many others agree with him, adding that it would explain why the light appears to be motionless in the sky, as it's seen with flares that take a long time to fall to the ground. However, William insists that he's spoken to many of the residents on the island, and while they agree that the bizarre lights may be flares, they also added that they've never seen anything like the footage that he shared online. And for now, their origin remains mere speculation. The Lansdowne pub, located in Cardiff, Wales, is well known for the strange and inexplicable events that happen there on a regular basis. But in 2021, the establishment's security footage showed something creepy that was caught on camera and has left the pub's staff on edge. 33-year-old Haley Budd, the manager at the pub, has been working there for 8 years, and she says that she's gotten used to the strange events that happen in the pub. She's witnessed chairs moving on their own, chalkboards swinging for no reason, and the sound of furniture being moved when no one is around. But on the 26th of July, Haley was taking a break at around 7:30 p.m. when she sat down at a table with 4 chairs. The security footage shows her at the table while busy on her phone, when one of the chairs across from her suddenly shifts itself back under the table, as if being pushed by an unseen force. Haley immediately looks up in surprise and checks under the table, but finds nothing out of the ordinary. In another CCTV video from the pub, a special chalkboard that's been hung from one of the bar's pillars is seen swaying back and forth, despite there being no one near it. One staff member reported that she accidentally bumped into someone who she thought was another staff member, but when she turned around to apologize, there was no one to be seen. People who live above the pub have also described experiencing strange events in their flats, and the pub staff has threatened to leave if they encounter any more creepy activity. Haley has dubbed the spirit Lady Lansdowne, though no one has actually seen an apparition of the spirit. She has since tried to replicate the activity seen in the video on several occasions, but she's been unable to do so.
Many people believe that the strange activity in the pub is due to it being haunted by the spirit of a woman who's trying to make her presence known. In August of 2015, CCTV evidence of a haunting emerged from the Shaws Bay Hotel, which is located in New South Wales, Australia. The area is well known for creepy and unsolved paranormal cases, and so it comes as no surprise that some people believe the footage to be that of a ghost. More specifically, many people believe it to be the spirit of a young girl called Sarah that passed away in the area under unexplained circumstances more than a century ago. The footage starts off when a motion sensor camera is triggered at 1 a.m. on the 5th of August. At first, the hotel's dining area seems quiet and nothing out of the ordinary seems to be going on. But just after the camera is activated, a strange white cloud can be seen moving through the room, which is unoccupied at the time. The light cloud can be seen moving from one of the many tables in the room to another table and set of chairs that are placed nearby. It seems to hover there for a few seconds before suddenly darting off to the bottom right of the screen. It then stays in that position for a few moments before slowly moving further to the right, eventually disappearing to the right of the screen altogether. Those who believe that it's the spirit of little Sarah have stated that she was the daughter of Captain Thomas Fenwick, who built the Fenwick House in 1886. The house is located next door to the hotel, and one person who has lived in the house stated that it's extremely spiritually active. Inside the house, people have reported the smell of a woman's perfume that wafts through the halls. Others have also witnessed shadows that move across the upstairs hallway. However, this is the first time that paranormal activity has been reported at the Shaws Bay Hotel, and some viewers have expressed skepticism. Some commenters on the video claim that the creepy footage can be easily explained as an insect moving across the camera lens. But the owner of the hotel, Marty Byrne, is convinced that the CCTV camera shows a ghost that was caught on camera, and he's dismissed the idea of it being a spider on the camera lens, stating, "I don't know of any spiders that are transparent." 43-year-old Rebecca Harrington, the owner of Purdy's Pet Shop in Coventry, England, resorted to calling in a team of ghost hunters when she started experiencing paranormal events in the shop. Rebecca, who's been running the pet store for more than 2 years, reported that many of her customers started to complain that they felt someone tugging at their clothes, despite no one being near them. She also started to notice that some of the animals that were brought into the store would suddenly start acting up and freak out for no reason, about 2 months after she opened the shop. She eventually decided to check the store's CCTV surveillance footage, and she was shocked by what she found. In one clip, Rebecca can be seen at the shop's counter dealing with a customer. While the two are talking, an item that's been placed on a shelf behind her starts to move of its own accord and eventually drops to the floor. Sarah can be seen looking around in surprise, but luckily the customer doesn't seem to notice. In another clip from a camera that faces the front door, another item from a shelf falls to the floor, knocking another box over on its way down, and again, no one is seen in the vicinity. Another clip, which was filmed on a cell phone, shows an employee holding the shop's vacuum cleaner. They explain that the vacuum has been broken for some time, but that it suddenly turned on by itself. They go on to state that the battery is completely drained, yet the vacuum keeps running, even when the switch is in the off position. Rebecca eventually decided to call in a team of ghost hunters, and she was told that the shop is being haunted by the spirit of a man who lived in the building in the past and that he's annoyed at the presence of staff members. She decided to hold a seance, but many of her employees are now too scared to work in the shop on their own. She stated that they experience strange activity about once every month, and that her dog, who served as inspiration for the shop's name, can often be seen staring into an area where she's seen orbs floating around. Sisters Rochelle Stocks and Ashley Nesbitt, the owners of the Black and Gray pub in Morpeth, have experienced so many chilling paranormal activities in the pub that they've resorted to calling the police. In one clip that was caught on camera, Rochelle can be seen holding a pen in the palm of her outstretched hand while sitting at a table with Ashley and the pub's manager, Paul. They wait in anticipation to see if anything will happen,
and suddenly the pen starts to move on its own and spins out of her hand to the floor. Rochelle is clearly shaken by the experience, and the man can be heard saying, quote, "You got that perfectly on video." In the next clip, a staff member can be heard explaining what he experienced while showing the footage to one of the sisters. He can be seen standing in a doorway, and he puts one of his hands behind his back when a broom suddenly falls over by itself and hits the man on the head. He's clearly also shaken by the experience, standing with his hands on his knees for some time afterward. But there have been many paranormal events that have occurred in the pub. Ashley stated that on one occasion, she clearly heard her mother's voice saying, "Hi, girls." She turned around and said, "Hi, Mom, come on in, we're just in here." But she soon realized that there was no one there. Staff members have also witnessed iPads flying off the shelves, fridge doors opening on their own, and they've heard footsteps when no one is around. One staff member now refuses to go down to the pub's cellar after hearing banging coming from the room. Rochelle also felt an unseen force tugging at her hat. Ashley says that she would never sleep in the building on her own, and that they've struggled to find staff due to the strange events. They don't believe the ghosts intend to harm anyone, however, as they would have done so by now. A spokesperson for the Northumbria Police stated that they received a report of a suspected burglary just after 4:30 a.m. on the 22nd of September 2021, after strange sounds were heard. When they arrived, however, there were no signs of a break-in, and nothing in the pub was missing or damaged. A couple from Aintree in Merseyside, England, is convinced that their house is being haunted after they reviewed creepy CCTV footage from one of their motion-activated security cameras. 22-year-old Darren Pallister and his fiancée, 27-year-old Jessica Mason, say that they've experienced the strangely calming presence of another person in their semi-detached house, which was built before the Second World War. They've also experienced the smell of sweet perfume throughout the building. But on the 2nd of January 2021, they experienced a truly horrific event at 12:34 a.m. Darren was scrolling through the motion notifications that had been activated by their camera. Images that he shared to Facebook from the surveillance footage show the ghostly figure of a woman dressed in white moving throughout the house, almost causing him to fall off his bed. He immediately woke Jessica up and showed the footage to her, and she couldn't find an explanation either. Many of his friends claimed that he was trying to fool them, and that the woman was actually Jessica, but he explained that the figure in the footage had a blonde fringe, which Jessica doesn't have. He also stated that Jessica was asleep at the time, and so it certainly wasn't her. He also noted that the woman's dress seems to have an off-the-shoulder cut, and he's explained that Jessica doesn't own clothing of that type. The next day, he decided to adjust the contrast and the sharpness of the images with the use of his phone, and he noticed that the woman's face was clearly visible. He says that he often stays up after Jessica has gone to bed, and often felt like there was someone sitting in their living room with him. He also noted that the strange events seemed to be confined to that one specific room, where he's also seen orbs on a number of occasions. He says that many of his friends have told him to move out of the house, but he and Jessica don't get a negative feeling from their experiences, and they don't feel threatened by the presence, but just find it to be a bit bizarre. He says that he hopes to meet with a local historian who might be able to shed some light on the strange situation. This video was uploaded to the YouTube channel Pro Films in July of 2016. It has since gained almost 50,000 views and a variety of responses from viewers. Unfortunately, there's a short supply of details for the video, meaning it's even easier to speculate all kinds of theories. What we do know, thanks to the beginning of the video, is that it was filmed by two friends who were exploring the inside of a cave. They were familiar with this location, as the video states that they'd been there thousands of times. The clip of this footage starts just seconds before the camera handler discovers something disturbing. As the camera pans from cave walls and large rocks, it focuses on a deep, dark crevice in the cave. The camera holder holds the equipment in place for a short period, and then suddenly two glowing eyes appear out of the crevice. The eyes, which appear to be a green reflective color, point directly at the explorers and apparently moves around. As soon as the explorers realized what they had seen, they instantly pulled away and the clip ended. After the footage was slowed down, the eyes are easier to spot, but because of the darkness, it's impossible to see what kind of creature the eyes belong to. At one point, it even looks like the unknown creature may have a third glowing eye between the other two, but that's unconfirmed. Overall, there's no way of knowing what this particular encounter was, and it could be something more mundane like a fox. When the video was uploaded, some viewers said that the creature looked very large from what they could see. Others referred to it as an unnaturally large insect, and they even hinted that this may have been video proof of an undiscovered woodland creature. It's impossible to declare which theory is correct with such little information and footage. However, it doesn't matter if this entity was a ghost, a demon, a bear, or a fox. In the end, the explorers were facing a danger of some kind and were clearly terrified. Even if this was just an animal, it could have easily attacked them. The explorers warn in the video for people to be extremely cautious when exploring caves. Famous YouTuber Papa Jake uploaded this video titled Exploring the Haunted Tunnel, The Rake, in June of 2017. It has since gained 5.9 million views and an endless supply of comments. Papa Jake allegedly learned that his backyard was haunted and had a dark past. Apparently, the news intrigued him, and he decided to film an exploration video with his friend Logan. They begin their hike through the woods, and as they travel, Papa Jake begins brainstorming all the possible horrors they may find. He also claims that when he was doing research, he found that a significant and strange amount of people have gone missing in the woods over the years. At first, their hike is exactly like you'd expect, filled with beautiful woodland scenery. Things change, however, when the friends come across a strange path or deep trail in the woods. They agree to travel down the path, despite the uncertainty of their destination. The track leads them to an open cave beneath a tree, and it appears as though someone is living in the area because trash and empty supplies line the tracks. A set of prints in the soil suggests to explorers that the creature surviving in the area may not be human at all. After a brief debate, they enter the cave to find more unidentified prints and claw marks both on the ground and across the cave walls. Their immediate assumption is that this is a dangerous mythical monster such as the Rake. Slightly spooked by their findings, the pair decide to exit the cave and continue their journey. Shortly after, they find a tunnel, and using night vision features on a phone, investigate the interior. They catch a glimpse of an unidentified figure walking toward them in the dark tunnel. The footage is only shown in the video for a split second, but if you pause on the image, you may notice that the figure is shaped like an average human, but stands in an unnatural, threatening position. The video suddenly ends after the figure is seen. Papa Jake uploaded a second installment of exploration footage when he and Logan returned to the same woods later that week. This time in the middle of the night around 3 a.m. This time they come across a mysterious pair of old shoes shortly after starting their exploration. While the shoes don't suggest much, it's difficult to imagine a situation in which someone would leave their shoes behind while hiking through the woods, unless something horrible happened. The friends eventually reach the cave they previously inspected. This time, they stood at a safe distance while shining their flashlights into the pitch-black cave. One of them whispers there's something in there. It's unclear at first what exactly they're referring to, but if the footage is slowed down, it's easier to locate the scary presence. Inside the cave, crouched in a corner, the vague image of a creature can be seen. It's pale, extremely thin, and lanky. Although it somewhat resembles a human, it hunches over while standing on all fours in a very abnormal manner. In the chaos that follows, the pair lose one another. By communicating via portable radios, the pair agree to flee the scene and meet outside of the tunnel they also saw last time. They hesitate, worried that the creature from the cave may follow them. However, they finally enter the tunnel and travel much further inward than before. The clock on the camera hits the 3 a.m. mark, and the explorers hear a sudden scream from inside the tunnel. The friends point their lights toward the source of the scream, trembling in fear. The same creature from the cave is seen deep in the tunnel, but this time it's much more visible and the friends notice it's walking towards them. They run out of the cave at full speed while screaming and the video ends. Viewers have pointed out that the creature caught in this footage strongly resembles the paranormal humanoid creature known as the Rake, an encounter that Papa Jake speculated would occur. In September of 2017, popular YouTuber Omar Gosh TV, Mo Sarji, and James from The Fam decided to get together for a creepy exploration video, which was later uploaded to Omar's channel. To date, this has attracted about 2.5 million views and diverse opinions of viewers. The footage, which vaguely follows a vlog format, begins with the crew approaching a creepy tunnel in a quiet forest of San Diego. As they walk, Omar shares the fact that the tunnel is below an interstate highway where many fatal wrecks have occurred. When they arrive at the entrance of the tunnel, Mo and James enter while Omar stays behind to briefly address the audience. After Omar finally enters the tunnel, his first observations include threatening graffiti that says "look behind you," and the fact that the tunnel is much larger than they originally thought. He travels deeper and deeper, completely alone for quite a long distance before he finds his friends. As they're exploring the damp, dark, and dirty tunnel, they spot something in the distance lying on the ground. They use their cameras to zoom in closer, but are hesitant to physically walk toward that unidentified object. A closer shot of the white lump makes Omar assume that it's a bag of trash. However, they suddenly hear a low howl or scream. As they jump back in fear, they see the object jump into a standing position. From here, it appears to be a slender, human-like figure. It scurries off into the darkness while making a strange sound that can be described as either laughing or whimpering. Despite requests to leave, the group pushes forward, determined to complete their exploration. A short time later, the group hears a strange noise behind them and they turn to investigate. At first they see nothing, but one of them calls out to ask if someone is there, and a deep growling voice yells for them to leave. Suddenly, a figure starts rushing toward them, and it's revealed that the mysterious presence is a man in a scary clown costume. Even though this wasn't a ghostly presence or a dangerous animal, it was still shocking and terrifying. The truth is, they had no idea what this person's intentions were, but if they're screaming at people to leave a sewage-filled tunnel, it's safe to assume that they were up to no good. In March of 2019, members of the G-Team Paranormal Investigators YouTube channel joined forces with the investigators from Misguided Road Trips to collaborate on a new project. The crew planned a paranormal investigation of a notorious cemetery. The old, unkept cemetery was located deep in the woods of a small Georgia town. Countless witnesses and rumors claimed that the area was severely haunted, and most citizens tried to stay as far away from it as possible. To kick off the exploration, the team examined the decades-old tombstones. For the first portion of their investigation, things remain relatively calm. The two women discuss hearing footsteps as they speak out against possible spirits. However, it's difficult to hear the alleged sounds in the video, and it doesn't bother the women enough for them to stop hiking. Later, one woman spots what she believes to be a strange light formation in a collection of bushes. She urges the others to investigate and inspect the area, but as she approaches, the lights vanish. Of course, this could have been the eyes of a woodland animal, but when the woman frantically searches for the light source again, nothing is found. It can be argued that if this was an animal, it would have been filmed or at least heard running through the bushes, but still, the women brush it off and travel deeper. They approached a small brick structure in the cemetery that appears to be a more elaborate grave site. At that point, they both notice a dark figure standing nearby. When the footage is slowed down, the figure appears to be relatively tall and dressed in a large black cloak. However, as most apparitions do, it looks somewhat transparent, meaning that it's unlikely it's just a prankster or fellow hiker. The figure slightly moves around and almost takes a step forward before the women agree to flee the scene, unaware of the spirit's strength or intentions. As they hurriedly walk back to their exit point, one woman is grabbed from behind and falls to the ground while screaming in pain. The other woman helps her to her feet, and they agree that she was likely pushed by the spirit they just saw. The footage was uploaded by both the G-Team and Misguided Road Trips. Oddly enough, both videos show the same cloaked figure in the exact same spot, meaning that it wasn't the result of camera error. It's tough to say exactly what these investigators experienced though, but there's no doubt that they were deeply frightened by their encounter. This video is currently uploaded to the Humor Army YouTube channel and has racked up over 65,000 views since its upload in 2016. The source of the footage though comes from a popular YouTuber known as Carnage. He recorded the footage when he decided to embark on a creepy exploration of an abandoned gas tower in southwest London. As if that isn't eerie enough, he also chose to explore alone to celebrate 100,000 subscribers. He entered the wooded area and stumbles across a group of boys near a creek. Apparently, the only way to reach the gas tower was by crossing the creek, and the only way to cross the creek was by walking over a very unstable bridge. Carnage crosses the bridge, and the random group of boys join him on his journey. Carnage climbs the tower to get to an impressive look of things before the group continues. Eventually, they come across a metal gate that's covered in a mysterious, concerning red liquid. Unsettled and uncertain about the material, they choose a different route. The group then comes across a green shed covered in rust and slowly worn down by years without maintenance, and Carnage agrees to push forward at first and opens the door to the shed, though he is abruptly confronted by a man in a gas mask who gives Carnage and the group an intense scare. He begins chasing the group while yelling at them and flee the area at full speed while also screaming. While Carnage didn't capture anything paranormal, he managed to collect footage that shows something even more frightening, which is the reality of possible consequences one may face in an abandoned exploration.
You never know who or what is hiding in the dark corners, and you could easily be harmed or attacked. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep updated with our videos. And if you enjoyed this narration, maybe consider checking out my personal channel at youtube.com/ty_knots.